Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sudeshna Banerjee. I'm the practice manager for energy and extractives for the Eastern African region in the World Bank. I'll be moderating today's session. A little bit about myself. I manage the energy operations and policy dialogue in 15 countries in East Africa. This is my 15th year in the World Bank. Previously, I worked on energy and infrastructure issues in South Asia and Middle East and North Africa, both in operations and analytic work. Today, I have the honor to introduce the officials of Kenya's Ministry of Energy, who will today virtually launch their National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy. They'll be joined by two other speakers. From them, you will hear about Kenya's energy efficiency goals and strategy to achieve those goals, how energy efficiency will contribute to Kenyans' well being, including the financial and health benefits of lowering energy bills and pollution, the concrete measurable targets the strategy sets in different sectors, how public and private partners crafted this strategy, and what are the next steps to prioritize and implement actions. After our first speaker welcomes all of you and makes the opening remarks, and a few words I will say on behalf of the World Bank Country Director who could not be here with us today, we will hear the main presentation on the Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy. We'll hear comments from two of the organizations that have provided support for the development of the strategy, and we'll open the floor for Q&A. The ministry will host today's session, which is scheduled to take just over an hour. A few protocols to keep in mind on this virtual launch. Please keep your microphones muted. You can submit questions to be taken up during the Q&A session at any time using the chat window in Zoom. In fact, I highly encourage you to use this time in the next 1 hour to put in your questions because we can get to it as many of them as possible. We will also endeavor to provide written responses after the session to those that we are not able to get to during the session. And please note that we'll be recording the session, so in case you miss any part of it, you can always come back later. So I will now introduce our first speaker, Engineer Joseph Njoroge. He's the Principal Secretary of the Ministry of Energy of Kenya. Engineer Njoroge was appointed to his current position of Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum in May 2013 and became the PS in the State Department for Energy following reorganization of government in December 2015. He has wide experience in power engineering and management. Prior to his appointment as PS, he was the managing director of KPLC, Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Dr. Njoroge holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering, Master of Business Administration, as well as PhD, both from University of Nairobi School of Business with a major in Strategic Management. He is a chartered electrical engineer, a member of Institution of Engineering and Technology, UK, a registered consulting engineer, and also a fellow of Institution of Engineers of Kenya. He is also chairman of the MBA chapter of the University of Nairobi Alumni Association. You are welcome, PS Njoroge, and over to you to make your opening remarks. Thank you.
Now, I want to, first of all, acknowledge my appreciation for this important meeting that we are holding on a very, very crucial subject to our hearts, the subject of energy efficiency and conservation, under which we are partnering with very important stakeholders like Kenya Association of Manufacturers. These are the people who mainly consume a lot of power. And when they are efficient or when they conserve, it makes a lot of difference. So I want to acknowledge and appreciate Phyllis Wakiaga, who is present in this important meeting. So let me start my comments by welcoming all representatives of Kenya government agencies, development partners, industries, and industry associations, and the private sector, distinguished guests, both national and international, members of the public, ladies and gentlemen. I'm greatly honored to launch the Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy on behalf of the Ministry of Energy and the Government of Kenya. This strategy provides the government's roadmap towards achieving energy efficiency goals that will have a positive impact on Kenya's economy. It is intended to help Kenya reach its international commitments and national targets for cleaner energy and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions as articulated in Kenya's nationally determined contributions, or NDCs as abbreviated, and in the country's national action agenda for sustainable energy for all. The strategy focuses on 5 thematic sectors: households, buildings, industries, agriculture, transport, and power utilities, which target all the essential areas in the Big Four agenda of food security, affordable housing, manufacturing, and affordable healthcare for all. Energy efficiency and conservation is a priority area of improvement targeted by the government of Kenya to enhance the quality of life of all its citizens. It is expected that the implementation of energy efficiency initiatives will significantly reduce GHG emissions, produce additional comfort, and improve health, environmental, and economic benefits. The strategy will contribute towards achievement of national energy efficiency goals and has set targets for measuring progress. Through the implementation of the strategy, we aim to reduce the national energy intensity by 2.8% per year and enable the country achieve a 30% emission reduction by 2030 relative to business as usual. Implementation of the strategy will achieve strengthening of institutions responsible for energy efficiency in Kenya, establishment of a long-term mechanism for higher public awareness of the importance of energy efficiency by integrating energy efficiency curricula into the education system. Increase in financing opportunities for energy efficiency and enhancing gender mainstreaming in energy efficiency activities. Ladies and gentlemen, as we work towards implementation of the strategy and attainment of the outlined goals, we hope to engage the stakeholders and development partners in developing a clear roadmap to implement the strategy, including communication and resources mobilization strategies. Rally government agencies to carry out resource mobilization to access to finance for energy efficiency projects. Enhance gender mainstreaming in the implementation of the strategy. Support actions to enhance awareness, creation, citizen engagement, training, and capacity building. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate the following: that numerous stakeholders from the national government, county governments, private sector, and energy professionals who contributed ideas to make this formulation process a success. The technical committee under the strategic leadership of the advisory committee, the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency for providing technical support, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers for supporting this process through the Center for Energy Efficiency and Conservation, and for championing energy efficiency incentives in the country. The UNEP DTU partnership for supporting in the printing of strategy, the World Bank and SMAP for continued support in technical assistance and energy sector engagement, the work of reviewers who included energy experts drawn from the private sector, industry, academia, and development partners. Last but not least, the officials from the Directorate of Renewable Energy in my ministry for facilitating the process and ensuring the strategy's high standard. I encourage all stakeholders to participate in the implementation of this important strategy. And I would like to invite Dr. Sadeshna Banerjee to make remarks on behalf of the World Bank as the country director. Asanteni sana all. Thank you all. And we look forward to a very fruitful engagement, ladies and gentlemen. The subject we are discussing is very close to our hearts. And once again, I also appreciate the presence of a very, very key stakeholder, the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, whose docket includes very heavy consumers of electrical energy and whose savings creates very impactful um, figures in terms of savings in money and also savings in the consumed unit. I thank you all, and God bless you. Thank you for listening to me.
Asante sana, P.S. Joroge, for those remarks. I would like to say a few words now on behalf of the World Bank. P.S. Joroge, representatives of the Kenyan government, fellow development partners, representative of industry associations, and the private sector, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I'm greatly honored to speak here today at the launch of the Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy and represent our new country director, Mr. Keith Hansen, who could not be here with us today. The launch of the strategy is yet another remarkable achievement for the government of Kenya. In February of 2020, the 6th Global Off-Grid Solar Forum and Expo returned to Kenya 10 years after its inaugural session. Preceding that, in November 2019, the Ministry of Energy launched the National Gender Policy, the first of its kind in Africa, while in December 2018, Kenya launched the National Electrification Strategy, which established the roadmap towards attaining universal electricity access by 2022. Kenya is indeed a renewable energy leader and deserves its place as the fastest electrifying country in the world. The Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy now seeks to consolidate not only the gains made in electrification, but also targets the key thematic sectors of households, buildings, industry, and agriculture, transport, and power utilities. Implementation of the strategy will lead the country further on the path to reducing national energy intensity and achieving further carbon emission reduction. The World Bank is proud to be supporting the government of Kenya's announced goals in the area of energy efficiency and conservation and commend the government of Kenya and participants gathered here today on their commitment towards achieving these goals. In response to the pace set by our client governments and the emerging financing needs, we remain global knowledge partner and supporting financing to governments around the world. I'm particularly pleased to note that the new strategy focuses on addressing the needs not only of those in urban areas, but also those living in the most remote parts of the country. Households, micro enterprises, public facilities such as schools and health centers will benefit immensely from efficient and productive uses of energy. Reaching them is an urgent development imperative, and we are committed and proud to contribute to your efforts. I would like to invite Engineer Isaac Kiva from the Kenya's Ministry of Energy to represent the energy efficiency strategy. And let me just mention a few words about Engineer Isaac Kiva. He leads a directorate charged with policy formulation and promotion of development and utilization of renewable energy, including facilitation of private sector investment. He has wide experience in public sector management, having worked in energy and senior government positions in over 20 years. He is a registered professional engineer, a member of Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and a board member of Kenya Power and Lighting Company Limited. Over to you, Engineer Kiva, to lead us through the strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sudeshna, and it is a joy for us to be able to be here today. I'll be making this presentation on behalf of the many participants who have been able to indulge in making this a reality, and which our PS has been able to give his congratulations and also his appreciation. And so I'll be making this presentation on their behalf, and it's a great day for us in Kenya that we can be able to have this strategy which is going to inform us moving forward and being able to then advance the agenda of energy efficiency and conservation. In a nutshell, just to introduce Kenya to those of us who are coming from outside, the population is about 47 million. The GDP per capita of US dollars 1,750. It is still low, and this is because we are still dependent on rainfed agriculture on service industry and tourism. And the idea is then to be able to increase our participation in manufacturing so that this GDP per capita can be able to rise. The annual growth rate is about 6%. And we have a system of governance where we have the national government and 47 counties. The energy for cooking, majority of our households are still using wood fuel. If you take wood fuel and charcoal, in fact, is about 66% would use wood fuel and charcoal, 23.9% using LPG, 7.8% paraffin. Now, biogas, 5% electricity and solar, and these are areas we want to be able to look into because they are cleaner forms of energy, so that we can be able to move people from wood fuel, from charcoal into the other spheres. Then when it comes to electricity generation, the electricity accounts for about 4% of primary energy consumed in Kenya. Currently, the on-grid capacity is 2,721 from 55 plants. And we have off-grid stations which account for 31.5 megawatts. About 8% of the annual electricity generation comes from fossil fuels, and the government is implementing a gradual phase out of expensive diesel generation to provide cheaper and cleaner energy. If you look at the pie chart of installed capacity, you may find that thermal looks domineering, or rather at around 30%, geothermal almost 35%, and hydro. But in terms of energy dispatched, we dispatch more of renewable energy, and the thermal, which is now dispatched, is right now, in fact, averaging about 5%, down from the 8%. So we have most of our energy dispatch coming from renewable energy sources. Now, the national policy and legislation which angers energy efficiency and conservation, we get them from the Constitution of Kenya and other documents like the Vision 2030, which talks about improving our competitiveness in manufacturing, promoting efficiency so that we can be a newly industrialized country. And then there's a Big Four agenda, which is looking at increasing the share of GDP from manufacturing, is looking at affordable housing, universal health, and food and nutrition. And in all this, energy is a key driver to realization of the Big Four agenda. We also tie in with the climate change. As the PS has said, this is going, if we do the measures we have put in here, then we'll be doing what we have stated in our NDCs. And then on the energy-related law, we have the Anger Energy Act of 2019, in which it calls for coordination of development and implementation of national efficiency and conservation programs, and it mandates the minister responsible for energy to promote energy efficiency and policies and actions. And pursuant to that, in the order, under the Order Act of 2006, we had, in fact, some legislation just to buttress whatever is said in the Energy Act. And these pieces of legislation are also going to be revised so that they can be able to harmonize with the Energy Act. For example, we had an energy appliances, energy performance and labeling regulations, which specified the appliances manufactured or imported in Kenya needs to be tested for energy efficiency in an accredited laboratory, which then gets registered with IPRA, our regulator, and then you are fixed an appropriate energy star level. We had also energy management regulations where energy consumers and hours per year was, and then we have a Kenya National Electrification Strategy, which called for achievement of universal access to electricity by 2022 through both grid and off-grid. Now, due to COVID, we might revise this date of 2022 to come at a realistic figure. Now, the history of energy efficiency and conservation started way back in 2006 when the Ministry of Energy and Kenya Association of Manufacturers signed an agency agreement. This was geared towards manufacturing as one of the sources where usage of electricity is very heavy. And the agreement established the Center for Energy Efficiency and Conservation. The CEC has accrued benefits, including increased public awareness on energy efficiency and over Kenya shillings 13 billion of energy cost saving has been realized, which is equivalent to 2014.8 gigawatt hours in industry and agriculture sector alone. Then there was an acknowledgement of the need to increase actions in energy efficiency to further increase saving and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the rationale for the energy efficiency and conservation strategy is drawn from the realization that high energy prices are forcing consumers to consider measures to lower their energy costs, the use of polluting fuels, as rising adverse environmental impacts and greenhouse gas emissions. And then there has been supply and demand mismatch of some of the energy sources, which requires us to efficiently utilize the available resources, especially the ones which are least cost. And then there is high level of awareness by government and international community regarding international energy efficiency and conservation agenda. And coupled with this, we have seen the decreasing cost of appropriate technologies. Now, the strategy formulation process really started with the formation of a technical committee. And this technical committee, as the PS has said, was assisted also by an advisory committee, which prepared the exposure draft. And then after that, we had a zero draft where the key stakeholder consultations were done. Then there was national and county governments, private sector, and the public coming in to give comments. There were regional workshops held, and there was a review by the technical committee and experts. And this then led to the first draft, where we had iterative review of a couple of back and forth, editing and design, and then validation exercise. And later then, we have this energy efficiency draft. And it's being implemented by the Ministry of Energy with the support from the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, World Bank, and World Bank's Energy Sector Management Assistance Program. I'll quickly go to the objectives of the strategy, and there are two main goals. One is reducing the national energy intensity by 2.8% per year. And secondly is to achieve a 30% emission reduction in greenhouse gas emission by 2030, relative to the business as usual, which currently is 143 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. And in doing this, we'll be able to then hit the target for sustainable energy development goal on affordable and clean energy. So these are the two main goals we are looking at. And as the PS did say in his keynote address, we're looking at the 5 thematic areas of household building, industry and agriculture, transport, and then power utilities. In terms of implementation arrangements, we are going to have a multi-sectoral, including national and county government, state and non-state actors, the private sector, the public, participating in all this. And all the energy sector agencies are key role. I'm just going over some of the actions in those 5 thematic areas. In the household sector, I was saying we have about 12 million households. The majority, as we said, still use wood fuel and others charcoal. And the actions there is to improve energy efficiency of households using efficiency of household energy using appliances themselves, and also improve the energy efficiency of household thermal energy. If we do this, we'll be covering a great deal because majority of people are going then to be assisted. Then on building sector, currently we have a building stock of 37 million meters squared, and this is also increasing day by day. We are looking at the kind of materials we are using, mostly important, and they have a huge carbon footprint. And the residential housing deficit is 2 million units nationally. there is a quest under the Big Four agenda to increase the number of households, a number of housing units every year. The actions we are looking forward to implement is to enhance energy performance of new buildings and improve energy performance of existing buildings through retrofit. On industry and agriculture, the contribution of manufacturing was 7.7 to GDP in 2019. Agriculture was 34.1. Under the Big Four agenda, there is a quest to be able to raise this contribution from manufacturing to at least 15% or so. And some of the measures we have, the actions we are going to take, is to increase adoption of energy efficiency programs, is to improve acceptance of energy audits and implementation of energy audit recommendations. We intend to enhance the roles and activities of EPRA, the regulator, Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and the CEC, because they are very central to the enhancement of energy efficiency measures, and then also promote the use of efficient off-grid systems and shift to productive use of energy. This realization that right now we are doing our energy access through both grid and off-grid, and off-grid is taking increasingly a very important role in our electrification. Now, in the transport sector, very keen. We haven't worked much on this, but noting that the transport sector contributed about 8% to GDP in 2019, and we consume 72% of imported petroleum products. The transport needs are increasing significantly annually. There is a renewed effort in Kenya to use railway freight, and this is increasing by 300%. The cargo added at the port is increasing by 0.6 million tons. The number of air passengers by 1.7 million, and the commercial by 0.7 million tons. Now, key to note is also that we have increasing number of petrol motorcycles, currently about 1.5 million. They are perhaps soon going to overtake the number of vehicles, which is 2 million, because of their increase due to their transportation and ease of transportation. And many youth are actually going into getting motorcycles for use in transportation, both for themselves and also for others for business. So the actions which we envisage under this is to improve the fuel economy performance of vehicles in Kenya, increase adoption of e-mobility, improve urban vehicular management, and enhance public modes of transport. Then on the last thematic area of power utilities, very key is that, as we had said, much of the electricity is actually produced locally from the indigenous sources we have, and 92% of energy dispatched is from renewable energy sources. We have about 7.6 customers connected to electricity, and we intend to increase this going forward. The national electrification access is about 77%. And now the actions in this very important sector is to create and implement models for utility-financed energy efficiency implementation. We also seek to improve efficiency of energy supply system, delivery infrastructure, and reduce commercial losses, and then also improve the grid stability, looking at energy storage, looking at auxiliary services, and also looking at automation in the power utility sector. There are other cross-cutting actions which are there in the document, including strengthening of institutions responsible for energy efficiency, enhancing performance competence, mainstreaming in the Kenyan education system, increasing financing of making business case for that, issues of gender mainstreaming, and also linkages between ministry, academia, and industry for innovation and for research and development. There were targets which moderator will not go through. This will be available, but this is just to show that in each of those 5 thematic areas, we have measurable targets which have been set in the strategy. So the idea will then be able to track all this and see that we are we are able to be on the path as we have already detailed in the strategy, and this is exhaustive, covering all the 5. Now, the resource mobilization of the strategy is very key to the success of this implementation of this strategy. And therefore, as the PS has said, key stakeholders are required then to support the mobilization of adequate resources to finance the relevant programs and projects, or indeed as may be requested by the government of Kenya or other actors. And this strategy, we hope, is going to be financed through the national government, the county governments, other development funds, development partners, PPP, and also non-government partners, private sector, among others. And so it is a holistic strategy. We'll be looking at all of us to be able to gather resources for that. And since all of them were involved in the formulation, it will be easy to understand. With that, I want to come to the end of the presentation. Thank you so much, Sudeshna. Thank you all for listening to me, and we look forward to your support even as we implement the strategy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kiva. That was a fascinating presentation. Thank you again. I would like to turn now to the first of our commentators, which is Mrs. Phyllis Wakiaga. She's the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers, or KAM. Let me say a few words about Mrs. Phyllis. She's a legal professional and a transformational leader in sustainable development and economic growth. She's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, holding master's degree in international trade and investment law and in business management. She's an alumna of Swedish Institute Management Program on the Sustainable Business Leadership and Corporate Social Responsibility. Mrs. Wakiaga is a UN Global Compact Network, a chair of Kenya Industrial Water Alliance Chair, and a member of the Kenya COVID-19 Fund Board. At the same time, she represents KAM in numerous institutions. She is recognized as a top Africa economic leader for tomorrow by Kwesiol 100 Africa list in 2018 as one of the most influential people of African descent global 100 under 40 in 2019. She's really impressive lady. Mrs. Wakiaga, the floor is yours.
So allow me to recognize the Principal Secretary, Ministry of Energy, Dr. Engineer Joseph Njoroge, the Secretary, the World Bank Country Director, Keith Hansen, the World Bank Practice Manager, Energy and Extractives Global Practice, Sudesha Banji, the Chief of Energy and Climate Branch, United Nations Environment Program, Mark Radka. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's a great pleasure to join you here today for the launch of the Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy. Kenya Association of Development the energy efficiency agenda as a means of unlocking the much-needed investment in energy efficiency and renewable energy. In line with this, we're implementing initiatives in line with the Kenya National Climate Change Action Plan and Vision 2030 that focus on energy efficiency and conservation and minimizing environmental degradation. Kenya has embarked on a noble mission of attaining universal electricity access for all by the year 2020 under the auspices of the Global Agenda on Sustainable Energy for All, C for All. As manufacturers, our role is to ensure that we avoid energy wastage at the farm level and by so doing, offload the grid. Indeed, energy in the context of capacity, reliability, and cost is central to industrial growth and consequently sustained economic development for countries around the world. Electricity, as we all know, is one of the main inputs in the manufacturing process, with sectors such as consumers of power in Kenya. A study of Kenyan industries, this is a study we carried out in 2006 and our project called JEFCAM, revealed that there is potential to save 10 to 30% of energy used in manufacturing. These findings have guided us in driving the energy efficiency agenda, and we have recorded positive results. As we move towards a manufacturing-led economy, we must position the country to that which has a competitive energy cost an efficient and reliable energy system. Energy efficiency is therefore the heart of this discourse. Kenya is one of the countries that has led obligations on utilities to meet energy efficiency and savings targets. However, even with these policy measures such as financial incentives, information capacity building programs, the support is still limited. Out of the 3,500 facilities, CAM has managed to reach 1,300 facilities for energy audits, and this has been due to financial capacity as well as human capacity to cause acceleration of this exercise. Kenya stands tall on the global map as a leader in geothermal energy. Even with the diversified energy mix in favor of renewable sources, with a majority of the power from our national grid being from renewable energy, we still need to make even more effort towards energy efficiency and conservation. So what is the outlook? The development of the Kenya National Energy Efficiency and Conservation Strategy opens a new chapter and brings on board many sectors, including manufacturing, transport, agriculture, and even households. I think we saw that in the presentation, who shall work together towards greening the entire value chain. CAM, as the Association of Manufacturers, will continue to play its role in monitoring, evaluation, and reporting on achievements and results. So I'll give a bit of an update on some of the energy efficiency initiatives for the manufacturing sector. As the PS mentioned, we have been working together since 2006, and we established the Center for Energy Efficiency and Conservation. And over the years, the center has championed the adoption of low-carbon resilient economy through supporting manufacturers in their resource efficiency journey. The center has also undertaken energy audits, capacity building initiatives, and awareness creation together with advocacy. And we've been able, as I said, to carry out 1,300 energy audits. This actually represents over 80% of the audits that have been carried out in Kenya. In order to realize the implementation of energy conservation measures, CAM has also worked with development partners, and we must appreciate their support, like AFD, under the SUNREF program, that enabled manufacturers to overcome bottlenecks of financing for green projects. The partnership has actually seen CAM placed at the forefront of energy efficiency and renewable energy for industries, with 40 projects being financed under the program, representing savings of up to 40 gigawatts annually, and proudly injecting about 21 megawatts of clean energy from captive power plants from industries that have implemented renewable energy. Energy efficiency, its assessment and implementation also goes hand in hand with capacity building. And with this realization, CAM has also been carrying out technical trainings for industry in this area. Through our training programs, we have trained a host of professionals in the country, including certified energy managers, certified measurement and verification professionals, energy auditors, and certified carbon footprint analysts. For the last 15 years, we have also held the Energy Management Awards annually to award and promote energy efficiency in industry. We've had 363 companies participate as of 2019, and we had recorded a savings of 13 billion Kenya shillings. We have also played a pivotal role in power advocacy, that being our core mandate. And thanks to the partnership with the Ministry of Industry and the advocacy efforts we have had together, we have been able to adopt the following: the time of use tariff, the 30% electricity cost rebate, though that has now been degazetted, the 220 kV electricity connection, and the special economic zone tariff. These incentives have seen companies reduce their energy cost without reducing production. And 12 months after the time of use tariff was passed, the number of beneficiaries has increased from 800 to over 1,500 customers. The customer saving in millions VAT inclusive has more than doubled from 78 million in December to 196.7 million in December 2018, so between 2017 and 2018. So as CAM, we've been at the forefront and center in advocating for development of energy efficiency and conservation, and we will continue to play a critical role in the sustainable development and realization of Kenya's climate protection targets, especially around the NDCs and the Paris Agreement. And we'll also disseminating energy efficiency conservation information through the seminars we carry out, targeting industry, and also lobbying for the establishment of local accreditation programs for certified investment grade auditors and certified energy saving verifiers, drawing on international standards and materials. So, in conclusion, the adoption of energy efficiency in industry will help reduce the dependence on fossil fuels and help the country as it fights the effects of climate change. We hope with this launch that ongoing efforts will expand even further and more players will come on board to achieve the objectives of this strategy. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to partnering with all of you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wakaiga, and I hope you were not driving at the same time as you were speaking.
No, I'm being driven. I was visiting industries, and yes, I'm happy to join you even in this.
Yeah, we are very worried about your safety. Thank you very much. I would like to now invite Mr. Mark Ratka from UNEP to make his remarks. But before I do so, I want to remind all of you that there is a Twitter hashtag. It's KNEECS launch. So please tweet freely and talk about this work because this is super important for the government of Kenya. This is also be available in the chat box as well, so you know what the hashtag is. It has just gone out, yeah. So just to introduce Mr. Ratka heads the United Nations Environment Programme's Energy and Climate Branch, which links the global energy and environment agendas. UNEP helps countries reduce emissions through broad cooperative efforts engaging the financial sector in sustainable energy. Mark has a special interest in technology needs of developing countries and was a coordinating lead author of the IPCC Special Report on Methodological and Technological Issue in Technology Transfer. Before joining UNEP, he worked on domestic and international environment programs with the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the World Bank, and was a US Peace Corps volunteer in Thailand. He received a master's in public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, a master's in environmental engineering from the University of California at Berkeley, and a bachelor's in civil engineering from MIT. Welcome, Mark, and over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting UNEP, the UN Environment Program, to be a part of this launch. It's a real pleasure for me, not only because of my passion for energy, energy efficiency in particular, but also because Nairobi is UNEP's home and our headquarters. We've been fortunate to play what I would call a modest, but we think important role in developing Kenya's strategy. And this has come about through technical support provided by the Copenhagen Center for Energy Efficiency, which is one part of a partnership that UNEP has with the Technical University of Denmark and the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This rich and productive partnership is now 30 years old, and it gives us an expanded ability to engage with countries like Kenya on issues such as energy efficiency. The C2E2's technical support to the ministry started in 2018, and it hasn't involved much funding, but rather the brains and the experience of some very dedicated colleagues. But the overall effort, we're very pleased, has attracted a lot of attention from other donors who are interested in supporting the strategy's implementation. I speak here about organizations like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, CLASP, the European Union, and others. We've been very impressed and very heartened by the strong interest and continuous support provided by officials in the Ministry of Energy and the members of the Technical Committee in the development of the national strategy. You know, as others have pointed out, the Technical Committee members came from the Ministry of Energy, the KAM, the National Grid Company, and the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, and others. And this sort of broad commitment is really important and deserves a mention. Without strong government leadership that's linked to efforts and approaches that essentially get the buy-in from affected stakeholders, energy efficiency efforts usually stall. You know, a lot of effort is put into developing a strategy, but there's no real passion about it, and it kind of goes on a shelf. This is one area where strong, enlightened leadership by government makes a real difference. UNEP is, of course, the environment arm of the UN system, and we tend to look at energy issues through a climate change lens. Energy efficiency is great because not only does it help reduce harmful emissions of greenhouse gases, but it saves money for governments and consumers. It improves energy security. It allows precious investment dollars that would go to additional supply infrastructure to be spent on other societal priorities. And it improves air quality. Engineer Kiva highlighted some of these in his presentation, but I think they go a long way to showing how good energy efficiency strategies and plans can bring multiple benefits to a country like Kenya. And of course, regarding climate change and the need to reduce emission of greenhouse gases, energy efficient technologies and practices that are available today can take us a very long way to meeting our common climate goals. It's very encouraging to see Kenya including energy efficiency in its nationally determined contribution. And I think that sets a model for other countries, because efficiency is to some extent underrepresented in NDCs. Its potential is not yet widely enough recognized. I close by saying that we really hope to be remain engaged in this important work through the C2E2 and my colleagues in UNEP. We look forward to moving from the strategy to a solid action plan that turns the strategy into a reality. And because we think this provides such a good model for other countries, both on the process and on the outcome, we look forward to sharing the Kenyan experience with other countries. So thank you very much. Congratulations. Applause for all the hard work and the hard work that lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much to you and Phyllis for making the comments. We'll now move to the Q&A section, and thanks to all of you for putting in a number of questions, and we have been answering a few of them on the chat box, but few are available for Engineer Kiva and his team to respond to. And in case we don't manage to address all of them today, we'll share responses with all the participants. So Engineer Kiva and your team, let me just mention a few questions that have come in, and maybe you can answer them all together because we don't have that much of time remaining. So are there actions defined for the first years? Have the foreseen energy impacts being calculated? That is one of the questions that have come in. There have been a number of questions on the implementation of the energy efficiency strategy. It's something that Mark was also mentioning in his comments as well. There is some request to go into greater detail on the measures that are planned, such as testing appliances, equipment, and building for compliance with standards and training of personnel needed for monitoring. So that's the second question that has come in. The third one, which is sort of implicit in most of the questions that are submitted, is what incentives are contemplated to encourage uptake of efficient devices? Let me start with these three questions first, Engineer Kiva, and then I can come back with more questions if there is enough time. Over to you, Engineer Kiva and your team.
Thank you, Sudeshna, and thank you, colleagues, for asking these questions, because your questions actually make us think more on some of the areas where we need to put a lot of effort, clarify, and all that. And let me start by the first question on actions for the first year. And indeed, what we have is a strategy. Coupled with this strategy, in the strategy, we have the broad key objectives. We have where we want to be in, let's say, 5 years. But hand in hand, what we are doing with the same technical team, Sudeshna and our colleagues, is we are now formulating a work plan which is going to implement the actions which are talked at by this strategy. And that work has already started. The work plan is, of course, going to be the first year what we are going to be doing. And once we do that, we'll post that to our website and website of our colleagues so that we can be able to know all these things. What can we start with? What resources do we have? Who is assisting us to do what? So that is the engagement which is now going on, and we'll try to move with the same team which has been helping us. In it also, we are looking at the impacts. Once we implement this, we want to know what is the impact. Remember, we talked of some 2 major goals, and there are other sub goals in between. So with the measures we implement the first year, we want to see how have we lowered our energy intensity, and how much greenhouse gas have we been able to avoid. So this is going to be measured so that we can be able to see the impacts of that. Regarding the implementation of energy efficiency, the government is keen. It's to be able to follow through, to put resources and also to talk to our development partners. As Mark said already, World Bank is talking to us, so now we can pick some of these actions and convert them into executing them rather. We also have the Africa Development Bank who are together with us, and they'll be putting in some money. The EU and many of our partners, even in non-government actors, they are looking at what they can be able to do, and we have no doubt that together we'll be able to achieve. And therefore, moving forward, these are the measures we want to be able to implement. Regarding incentives, we then hope to make financing available, of course, and we are talking about how to enhance some facilities which can be able to be available, especially for SMEs and other individuals who want to implement some of these measures, and they do not have any financing. We're also looking at tax exemptions of some of the appliances coming in. Some of them which could be used like solar panels are tax exempt, but we are looking to widen that gap. Certainly, some of the household appliances in the cooking side suffered this year when taxation was introduced on some of them which were tax exempt. But since then, we have engaged with our National Assembly, with the National Treasury. We want to see that one reversed and even see whether we can be able to bring on board more tax holidays for these green appliances. So those are some of the incentives we're looking at. Other than having the legislation, of course, for mandatory audits for those who are huge consumers, we want to make it easy for them. And with KM, we're also looking at other things like recognition of those who are able to save a lot. We normally have energy management award ceremony every year where we celebrate those who have been able to implement some of the measures. So we will have a combination of this fiscal, we will have a combination of other incentives which we can then interest people to move to energy efficiency. Thank you, Sudeshna.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, participants, please continue to send your questions on the chat box. One question that has just come in, Engineer Kiva, and I now have a couple of questions that have come in. Let me just read it out. What is the approach to supporting energy efficiency for rural areas? And the second question is that can the Ministry of Energy provide more details on the support for electric vehicles? Over to you, Engineer.
Thank you. And again, perhaps I should have said this when I was answering the other question. Somebody asked we go into detail of measures. There is a slide which I said I will not talk to. I just looked at the time and I thought perhaps my time was coming on to an end, and the slide was very loaded. This slide was actually numbered 10, which was measurable targets of the strategy by sector. We make it available. In this slide, we have been able to say exactly what we are going to do in households and the measure of it, what we're going to do in buildings, industry and agriculture, transport, power utilities. For example, just talking about transport, because there is a question on electric vehicle, we are saying that we will enhance public modes of transport to increase the number of passengers using commuter trains in Nairobi City by over 30,000 daily. We will improve urban vehicular management, enhance speed. We will improve urban vehicular management, ensure enhanced speed of vehicles in urban areas from 41 to 50 meters per hour through reduced traffic jams and increased parking capacity. So these are just examples. But also an electric vehicle, as you may know, in the current Finance Act, there was some tax exemption for electric vehicles, and we are seeking to elaborate that with our National Treasury and our Kenya Revenue Authority, so that we can be able to see an increase in these electric vehicles. We're already talking to Kenya Power to be able to see if we can facilitate the establishment of charging stations and what that is going to look at. So this is one of the area we're going to work closely with all the key partners in Ministry of Transport, Transportation Sector, UNEP, EPRA, to see that we can have some actions, implementation actions in the first year, the second year, and see if we can be able to enhance this uptake. Now, regarding our support to rural areas, you recognize that most of the rural areas, they mainly would use electricity for lighting and for things like charging phones, for entertainment. And so the idea there then is to perhaps move them so that the appliances they are using, the lighting products they are using, they are energy efficient, and also support the distributors, the retailers, so that they could also perhaps have some mechanism for credit over time, and then the rural people can be able to pay over time. As you know, we have had very good examples of pay as you go. So if we can get this to get into also this system, this is going to be good. And then another thing for rural areas is their heavy reliance on wood and biomass for cooking. And that's why we are going to have a targeted approach to them of enhancing things like biogas and making sure that the cookstoves are energy efficient. Thank you, Sudeshna.
Engineer Kiva, we have now reached the end of the session. Before we close, do you have any final words for the participants?
Yes, Sudeshna, we really are very happy. The attendance is overwhelming. It's very good, and we know there are others who are also following on YouTube. Let me just say, as the PS did say, the outcome of this strategy, looking forward 4 or 5 years to come, we want to be able to see that we have enhanced the socioeconomic development of the country. We also want to see that we have contributed to making the world more cleaner environmentally. To be able to do that, we require the support of all the key stakeholders who are also like-minded, like many of you in this lounge today. And we just calling upon you to please support us. When you support Kenya, as Mark said, they are going to use it as a benchmark to other countries so that we can be able to come up with something of this sort. And we continue to thank all those who have enabled us to reach where we are, the technical committee, the Copenhagen Center on Energy Efficiency, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, our partners, the World Bank, SMAP, for the facilities they have given, many of our colleagues in the national government, in the county government, the academia, private sector. We are so thankful for all of you. And our running call is that even as we make the implementation and the action plan for this, let's be together so that each of us, if we have a good idea, we want to be able to give it a good soil for it to be able to grow so that at the end of it all, we can achieve the goals which we have. Thank you so much, Sudeshna, our fellow panelists, and all the attendees.
Thank you very much, Engineer Kiva. You may remember when we launched the National Electrification Strategy, I had mentioned that what Kenya does today, Africa does tomorrow. So you have been really the pathfinder in Africa, and I hope you continue to do so in the future as well. So thank you very much, Engineer Kiva, again. Thank you to PS Joroge, Ms. Wakaiga, Mr. Ratka, and of course, thanks to all the participants for attending so seriously. We have had about 200 participants in this webinar. and a lot of questions have come in, and we have tried to answer as many as possible. But thanks a lot to David and Fenwick from the Ministry of Energy, who have responded real time to a number of questions already. And whatever is remaining, we will get to you as well. And the materials from today's webinar will be posted, and an email will be circulated with the link. Have a great rest of the day, and thank you very much for joining again. And congratulations again to Engineer Kiva and the Ministry of Energy team. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.